Today, I'm going to test 4 more WordPress menus for basic accessibility issues. If you missed last week's video where I tested 10 menus and gave an overview of their accessibility challenges, I suggest going back to that now. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Shortly after releasing that video, I had a lot of people reach out asking for me to include their favorite themes and builders. So here it is, part 1.5, where I'll test Beaver Builder, Divi, Astra, and Cwicly. I'll also take a few minutes to answer some of the questions or respond to some comments that people left in different places. I'm Adam Lowe, President at Peak Performance Digital. If you find content like this helpful, I'd love it if you can give me a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, or leave a comment. If you're feeling extra generous, you can do all 3. For the sake of time, I'm not going to give an overview of my testing method, accessibility, WCAG, POR, or any of those things that I already covered in part 1. Again, the link is in the description below, so please watch that one and come back when you're done. Here are some of the comments and responses that I wanted to share with you all. First, I'll answer the big question. Yes, I will share my criteria and findings with you. When I publish the part 2 video, I'll include a link to view everything. I considered doing it sooner, but I want to make sure that everything makes sense and it's accurate. I don't want to be a spreader of misinformation. I had several people ask me to share steps to create an accessible menu. I didn't want to commit to doing anything out loud, but I do plan to do one in a few weeks. It'll probably be shortly after I present my full results in part 2 of this series. I had originally wanted to just update my existing menu, but now I'm thinking that I'll rework most of it from scratch. Tom from GeneratePress reached out to me and thanked me for pointing out the issues. Apparently, he has a release coming out in the next few days, and he said that he'll be addressing those menu things right after that. He's always taken accessibility seriously, and I'm glad to see that he's on top of things. Several people have reached out to Bricks with bug reports and forum comments, and I look forward to seeing the changes that they implement. Elementor has a few long-standing forum comments and bug reports about their issues. Either they don't care or they haven't seemed to figure out their problems yet. All is still quiet with SoFly, the makers of Oxygen Breakdance. Maybe that's because everyone's afraid of getting banned in their forums for pointing out their flaws. Come on guys, you had so much going for you, but now it's just one PR issue after another. There have been a few comments about Max Mega Menu, especially since it's regarded in the accessibility community as one of the best solutions around. Generally speaking, I agree, and like I said, the issues I found were minor in the grand scheme of things. I'm mainly surprised and disappointed to see that the issues I did have were so obvious and seemingly easy to fix. Now, let's go on to the tests. First up, we have Divi. This one, I knew it was going to be rough before I even started, and it didn't disappoint. Doing these tests was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. For this test, I have a blank WordPress installation with Divi and some theme test data loaded. Off the bat, I can see that the menu contrast fails miserably. It should be 4.5 to 1, and this is 2.81 to 1. The next thing I see is that the menu items get even lighter as I hover over them. Not only does this worsen the contrast, but it also goes against WCAG standards of needing non-color representation of a state change. It gets even worse when I try to use keyboard navigation. There's no skip link in the theme, and there's no indicator at all where I am in the header. In fact, as I tab through, the only thing telling me that I'm doing anything is in the link bar at the bottom of my browser. When I try to test opening drop-down menus using my keyboard, I get another failure. Neither the spacebar nor the enter key will open the drop-down. This makes the menu completely inaccessible for both keyboard users and screen reader users. Moving to the mobile menu trigger, we have yet another failure. Divi does not let us focus on the keyboard on the mobile menu, so it's totally unusable. Lastly, when I turn on my screen reader, I can hear that Divi doesn't announce the presence of submenus. It only lets us know about the top menu items. That's because Divi isn't using the correct ARIA attributes that either say that the submenu is there or indicate it by saying that a submenu is expanded or collapsed. Next up, we have Beaver Builder. I haven't used Beaver Builder in many years, but I used to think highly of it as a product. I've heard, however, from various accessibility testers that it's been known to have problems. Beaver Builder users counter that they have been trying to address them, so I was eager to give it a test. Unfortunately, the rumors were right. It's still not very accessible. To start, there were contrast issues with the theme and menus right out of the box. Of course, this is something that can be easily changed with the settings, but it's also something that should be easy enough to get right in the defaults. Again, looking at the default settings, there are no indicators of hover states or the existence of drop-down menus. On our keyboard tests, there was no skip link at the top of the page. Then, the keyboard focus jumps from the site icon on the left side of the page to the search icon on the right side, before coming back to the center with the menu. Tabbing through the top-level menu icons automatically opens a submenu. That's not terrible, but it does fail the recognizable criteria of WCAG's 4 areas: perceivable, operable, understandable, and recognizable. Also, the escape key doesn't close either the drop-down menus or the pop-up search bar. The weirdest thing was when I tried to tab backward through the content. Here the submenus and search box stayed open and overlapped each other. Making it even stranger, the bottom item with the dropdowns didn't get focused when shift tabbing. The other keyboard issue was with the mobile menu, where I could correctly open and close the menu itself, but I couldn't open or close any submenus. Using the screen reader, Beaver Builder wasn't announcing either the presence of submenus or that menus were expanded or collapsed. Looking at the code, I could see an aria pop-up equals true attribute, but it was on the list item instead of the anchor, which in this case is the targetable dropdown trigger. That's enough of Beaver Builder. I do like that they're making an effort towards accessibility, but clearly they still have some work to do. Now we come to Astra. Brainstorm Force, the makers of Astra, have a long history of quality products, so I was expecting good things from them. I was truly shocked at how poorly it performed though. And I was even more shocked when I looked under the hood to find that they actually had all the right pieces in place. They just put them in all the wrong places. Starting with the visual tests, Astra's menu failed color contrast out of the box. Again though, that's an easy enough fix in the WordPress customizer. Hover states didn't meet accessibility criteria, but I'm not even surprised by that anymore. Keyboard focus indicators do seem to work, so that's better than some of the products I tested in this video. Dropdowns do automatically open when the keyboard focuses on their top level menu items though, so that's a bummer. And the escape key doesn't close the menu, which forces us to tab all the way through them. I didn't see any obvious ways to change this behavior in the Astra settings, even when I checked the Astra Pro Nav menu settings. In the screen reader tests, the Astra menu failed to tell me about the presence of dropdowns or their states. It wasn't until I got to the submenus that I could hear that I was suddenly in another menu, so I had to infer that I was in the submenu. Looking at the DOM showed me all kinds of strange things. First, the UL element had an aria expanded equals false attribute for some reason. According to the W3C, aria expanded should only be on a button element or other targetable element that controls the dropdown behavior. In this case, Astra has it on the UL element, which does nothing. Next, there's an LI element with the aria pop-up equals true. Again, just like the expanded attribute, this one needs to be on the controlling element, which in this case is the anchor, not the list item. That means that our screen readers will never even see this aria attribute or let anyone know that there is a pop-up. Coming down, I can see that there's a button element, which got me excited since I normally like button elements on menus. However, for some reason, this is only targetable on the mobile menu and is completely ignored on the desktop menus. I was even more shocked to see that the button element has hidden screen reader text saying that it's a menu toggle. So the fact that they did that from the mobile menu and ignored on the desktop just makes no sense to me. Watching the actions when the dropdown opens and closes also baffled me, since nothing seems to make the aria expanded attribute change along with the dropdown state. So unfortunately, in its current state, I have to give low marks to Astra for accessibility. It's like an expert marksman got to the range and started shooting at someone else's target instead of his own. I just don't understand it. Lastly, I'm going to end these tests with one of the newer themes on the block, Cwicly. This is one of those tools that has a ton of power behind it, and it's grown immensely in the year or so that it's been out. When I first took notice of it, I thought it was basically a technology demo. Now, however, I hear a lot of people singing its praises as being one of the most advanced Gutenberg-based tools on the market. That may be the case, and I may just not know what I'm doing, but these tests reinforce my perception that it's still a tech demo at this point. The first thing to note is that Cwicly menus have no styling out of the box. They're simply a list of items with some built-in logic to show and hide submenus. To make them even remotely resemble a menu, we have to do that on our own, as I've done in the second row. It's also worth noting that in Cwicly, you'll need to create your own submenu buttons and mobile menu panel. I'm fine with that and appreciate the control and flexibility that it offers. But as you'll see later, Cwicly gives you a ton of options for the way things look, but not necessarily the way they behave. For mouse tests, everything works as expected. Out of the box, the Cwicly menu did nothing, but it could be configured to do pretty much anything that I wanted. The same goes for keyboard focus states. I could make the menu items and submenu items look however I wanted. In the keyboard tests, this is where the issues started to crop up. Nothing I did with the keyboard would trigger the drop-down menus, not the spacebar nor the enter key. Hovering over them with the mouse still worked, but using the keyboard was a no-go. Turning on the screen reader, it got even worse. First, there was no skip link, then there was no indication that a menu was present. As the reader went through the list, it also failed to announce the presence of some menus or their expanded and collapsed states. Digging into the DOM, I could see that the menu was not wrapped in a nav element. It was just sitting inside a div in the header. That explains why the screen reader didn't alert me that it was a menu. I also noticed that there was no aria current equals page attribute to tell me which page I was on. In fact, there was no aria markup at all, which is why my screen reader couldn't tell me about any of the dropdowns. I may have missed something, but I couldn't find anything regarding aria attributes anywhere in the builder, the documentation, or the forum. This is a huge problem and really does tell me, at least right now, that accessibility doesn't seem to be on Cwicly's radar. Alright, that's all I have for now. These tests left me thoroughly depressed. Next up in this series, I'll go deeper into the testing criteria and show you all the places where these products did well and where they need to improve. I still haven't figured out how to present it without putting everyone to sleep, so that's the biggest challenge I'm facing right now. I hope to get that video out sooner than later though, and I'm going to try my hardest to do it within the next 7 days. We'll see if that sticks. For now, let me know your thoughts, ideas, and opinions in the comments below. And as always, if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.